Now to one of the biggest cases in Tennessee history. 20-year-old nursing student Holly Bobo went missing almost 15 years ago. And Eva, you have been covering this case for years now. Now you're hosting a new podcast about it.
Yeah, this is one of the biggest and most expensive cases in Tennessee history. And despite an immediate law enforcement response, it took years to find Holly's body and more years to arrest someone in this case. Zach Adams was convicted in her murder, but now that conviction being called into question, as some are asking now, what happened to Holly Bobo?
It was a story that gripped a nation. 20-year-old nursing student Holly Bobo going missing from her home in Tennessee 15 years ago.
Somebody has my daughter. They have kidnapped her. Please get there now.
They're on their way. What's your daughter's name, Miss Karen?
Holly Bobo.
Okay, Miss Holly.
ABC News covering the story from the start.
And now we have the latest on the desperate hunt for Tennessee nursing student Holly Bobo.
Now, ABC Audio in 2020's new podcast, What Happened to Holly Bobo, is taking another look at the case, re-examining the twists and turns of one of the biggest investigations in Tennessee history.
The search for Holly became the search for Holly's killer. Investigators start finding answers bit by bit. And even though the case is now considered solved and closed, for some, the question of what happened to Holly Bobo remains to this day.
There's been so many rumors and so much misinformation. You don't know what's true and what's not true.
The first time I interviewed him, I was like, oh my God.
Thousands searching for her, but she would never be found alive.
Yeah, we really wanted to take listeners through the details of this. It's a very complicated case, starting at the beginning and then bringing them to present day. Our goal here is to help people understand the investigation, the evidence, and the dynamics that contributed to why many people feel very strongly about their opinions on this case.
What a story here. How did you come to cover this case?
So there was a new development that happened. The star witness for the state recanted his testimony. He was the one that put the whole piece of the puzzles together and said that these people were there. And now he's saying that he lied and he made up the whole story. Wow. And so I was sent to Tennessee just to start on the story from there.
One of the things that you're so good at when you cover true crime is that you focus so deeply on the details. And I think that that's what's so important when you're looking at the details in this. And in this case, there were so many twists and turns.
I mean, because this case took so long, it spanned so many years. So there were multiple people who were suspects at different times. The investigators collected lots of evidence. The evidence didn't lead them to physical evidence that connected to people, which made this case particularly difficult. And there was an investigator who was the lead at the start of the case. He was not the lead at the end of the case. Wow. So there's a lot that happens through the time.
And I imagine you said time, and that's part of why a podcast would be a good fit. But why a podcast for this case?
So we were able to get our hands on the case file for this particular case. And as we were digging through the case file, there's just so much there. And we did the 2-hour 2020, but there was so much more. And so we wanted a way to tell this story in a more complete way, and a podcast felt like the right way to do that.
So what's next for the case?
So there's a hearing coming up later on this month. They've set aside 5 days that they're going to go through the arguments for Zach Adams, and a judge will likely weigh whether or not he will get a new trial.
And it sounds cliche, but every parent's worst nightmare.
Yeah, truly.
And not having closure.
Yeah.
That part.
Her family really thinks that justice was served. So all of this happening now, you can only imagine how difficult it is.
Yeah, really heartbreaking. It probably takes it back to the heartbreak of that first call, that 911 call. Eva, I'm so glad you're doing this because you bring your whole heart to it. And you can listen to What Happened to Holly Bobo wherever you get your podcast right now. Again, it's #1 right now.